Morning, guys. I figured I'd take the time today to show you how to make homemade wine. I've been doing this for a few years now, really enjoy it. The wine comes out quite well. There's a range of wines and prices. They usually go from anywhere from maybe $75, $80 on the low end to up to about $200 for the kit. They all taste great. I usually do about the $80 to $90 kits for your day drinking, having a glass of wine with dinner regularly. But when you want to spend kind of the $200 on the very nice kits, the imported kits, they're fabulous. I did a wine tasting here against store-bought bottles, very expensive bottles and so forth. And my homemade wine, that $200 kit, came in, I believe, second place out of about 14 different bottles of wine. So quite impressive for homemade wine. So what we'll do today is we're gonna get started. I'm gonna show you the whole process, what comes with it, and how to do it yourself. So let's dive in here. This right here is a Wine Expert Classic kit. They also have a Reserve, special label, so forth. You can kind of see them. I get them on Amazon.com, to be honest. They ship right to your door. It's quite easy. And this is going to be an Italian Sangiovese, one of my favorite. So we open up the box here, and we have a couple things inside. You're going to get your kit of various, chemicals, for lack of better terms, that's going to help you clarify the wine, kill some of the yeast at a certain point to make it a drinkable finished product. You'll get sometimes oak, either oak chips, you may get oak particles and oak dust, depending on the type of wine, to add for flavoring. And then as you see, you'll get the actual juice kit here. They range in size, and depending on the wine, some will actually come with a second bag. You'll get grape skins that you'll also use for added flavoring. This kit doesn't actually have the skins, but we're just gonna use the bag of juice for today. So with that, what we have to start with is our accessories and our equipment. Obviously, being a food grade experiment here, we need to make sure everything is sanitized well, because obviously your bacteria and bad yeast will get in and destroy the wine. This here is, I believe, an 8-gallon bucket. You're usually going to be making, I want to say here, this makes 6 gallons of wine. So you want a little extra on the top for that air to come up, for the CO2 to come up, for it to bubble without this bursting and blowing wine all over the place. Next, you'll see here is your sanitizer. This is a fairly large container. This has lasted me years. So, you can spring for the bigger one or get the smaller one, but you don't need much. Here we have a very universal spray bottle. This is for spraying your equipment throughout the various processes of making wine. Then we have our valve here. This will sit on top in a little hole, and what we'll do, which I'll show you later, is you fill this with a little liquid, allowing the CO2 to escape, but air not to get into the wine, because air is what's going to actually kill your wine and give it that bad flavor. Then when we start out today, again, I will show you, we have your graduated cylinder, and we have this measuring device. Forgive me for the lack of term, I forgot what it's actually called. But what this does is it will float in the fresh wine. And in comparison, if there was water in here, this will float at 0 or neutral. When you put wine in the graduated cylinder, wine is full of particles, sugars, and other materials. And so this will actually float high because the liquid is so full of material. That's going to tell you on this scale, in contrast, how much sugar's in the wine, and usually it's a 1-for-1, how much sugar turns into alcohol. So what you're doing here is essentially, you're measuring the sugar in the wine, or the particles in the wine, but it correlates into how strong your alcohol content will be. So we'll get to that in a few minutes here. And then lastly, we have your mixing spoon. Second to last here, we have your turkey baster, for lack of a better word, to help you pour into your graduated cylinder. So I am going to put the video on pause for a second here, get myself situated, and we'll be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're back here. What we did in the break was sanitize our equipment. As we discussed earlier, we used this star sand. We put a little bit of this in the bucket with a little bit of warm water, swooshed it around, really made sure the bucket was clean, sanitized all the tools that we're going to be using, and just kind of let air dry. Now what we're going to do is actually start the process. I've gone ahead and just give the bucket a little bit of water. The instructions will tell us how much. I'm used to this by now. So your first instruction is clean and sanitize the equipment to be used, which we've done. Then we have pour about 2 liters or 8 cups of hot tap water into the bottom of the primary fermenter. That's this, and stir in your bentonite. So let's go ahead and try that. So here is, that comes with the kit, the bentonite. Should just be easy enough to rip open. And we're gonna pour a little in and really get it to mix up. What you're gonna find is the bentonite does seem to clump a little bit. So if you add a little mix, that's really the best practice. And I just shake the bucket. You're welcome to use the spoon and stir if you'd like. Either or works. And do a little more here. Good stir, let it really mix. Now you're not going to mix it all. You will see some particles in there, but for the most part, most of it has been dissolved, and that's really what you want. Okay, let that settle. Toss the bag. Toss the trash. Next, so we did the bentonite. Pour contents of juice bag into the primary fermenter. Rinse the bag with water and add to the primary fermenter. Okay, so this is the big part here. This smells great too. I always love this. So just use kind of a butter knife here. I'm gonna pop the cap off the juice bag. And the box itself sometimes will have the ability to put the nozzle in the box for easier pouring. Some don't, you know, it's a little awkward to do. You don't want to spill the wine, obviously. So forgive me here, let's see if I can do this on video without making a mess. You know what, I may take the bag out. Uh-oh, as I say that, I'm spilling. All right, let's try that, shall we? Get that box down there. Beautiful, dark, rich color. Smell is just excellent. I always love it. And once you're able to get that first pour in, then it gets a lot easier, as you can see. It's just a little awkward starting it out. Okay. So, that's most of the juice. And as you can see, there's still a lot left over in the bag. And what you want to do is really get all the juice out, because the chemical kits that come with it are specifically balanced for how much material, sugar, so forth is in the liquid. So it's a real, science, I guess, if you would. So here we're going to just add a little warm tap water, not hot. You don't want the plastic flavor from the bag, but warm, just to get it off the bag interior. So we're going to go ahead and not fill the bag. There's no not rocket science here, anything specific. Just get enough liquid in there so that you can swish it around a bit and really get that bag, get all the juice out of it that you need. You can do it 2 or 3 times if you need be. I think for myself that's good. I'm gonna put this bag back in this empty box. Okay, the trash. Great, let me wash my hands here, hold on. All right, so next step. We want to top off the fermenter up to 23 liters or 6-gallon mark with good quality, cool drinking water. Now, I've done this 2 different ways. I've actually bought bottled water, the gallons at the store, and I've also used home tap water. To me, I've never noticed a difference, to be honest. My water here is well water, but I have a filtration system, so I think it's good enough to make wine, so I don't have a problem with that. So what we're going to do now is, I actually don't have a jug. I'm gonna grab that bag. I'm gonna use this bag again and actually keep topping it off. Sometimes I'll actually use a empty water jug to fill in the sink, dump in, fill in the sink, dump in, but for now we'll keep using the bag. So again, just lukewarm / cool water. What we're going to read later on in the instruction is that the yeast needs to be about 65 to 75 degrees for it really to work well. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the water now, is get the full container up to about 65 degrees, so when you put the yeast in, it is ready to go. Because this step takes a few minutes, I'm going to pause the video and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. We have filled our primary fermenter up to 6 gallons. This one is meant for making wine or beer. And what you'll see on it, it says 1 gallon, 2, 3, 4, and then you kind of estimate there's about 5 and there's about 6. So this ring, give or take, is about 6 gallons. Leaving you, about 1 inch, 2 inches of gap on top for that wine to bubble. So now, what do we have? Top up the primary fermenter. We did. Okay, if your kit contains oak chips or granular oak, stir in now. All right, and we do. We have oak chips. It says if your kit contains oak cubes, they'll be used later. We don't have oak cubes. We have oak chips. So what we're going to do here is take this bag. I'm going to get a pair of scissors. Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and sprinkle these on top. It smells great. It smells really good. And this looks like kind of a dark roasted oak, which is quite nice. Put that there in the trash. All right. Let's see here. Stir in your kit. Stir well, and then use a hydrometer to measure and record day 1 specific gravity. So, we're going to go ahead and stir these oak chips in. Try to get them to sink a little bit here. Really get them to absorb the wine. Or, put differently, I guess having the wine really absorb them and their flavor. I really like a good oak flavor in my wine. It also seems to, at least for me, for my layman palate, to really give it that smooth body once finished. Sometimes I'll actually buy extra oak and I'll put oak in it at different points in the process to really bring out that flavor, which I love. But that's all for you guys to figure it out as you start doing this. You can follow the instructions to start, and you're welcome to customize it as you go, as you kind of experiment. That's the fun part about it. Okay, and we'll put that there for now. And now we say we want to do the hydrometer. So this is where you get your graduated cylinder and your turkey baster. Let that water get out of here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna squeeze the top first to get the air out, then you submerge, getting some of the wine. You're gonna go here and you're gonna fill your graduated cylinder. Again, squeezing the top, then submerge, take some of the wine, And the reason you squeeze the top first, then submerge is so you're not blowing air into the wine unnecessarily. Okay, a few more of these here. And the hydrometer is starting to float. Get it a little higher so it's easy to read. Okay, so we'll put, actually, you know what? We'll do a little bit more here. Let me top it off, okay. Put the rest of the wine back in there. We are done with the turkey baster. We can put that in the sink. So this is gonna be a little hard for you to see at home. What we're doing here is we're going to spin the hydrometer ever so carefully, get rid of the bubbles around the side of it, so it's really floating in the center and away from the edge if possible. Let's see here. Let's see. We're looking at this 20 line in the green. So the green says table wine. Excellent, so we're at the right spot. And what's this telling us? Forgive me, it's kind of small. We're at the 20. So we are a little higher than 10% alcohol. We're probably looking at probably 11% alcohol from what this is telling me here. So we're gonna take this, it's very delicate. Make sure you put that aside and not break it. And we'll wash it later. And what's kind of fun is what we'll do is we'll pour most of this back here. But what I recommend is having a sip. Whew. It's sweet. But what's cool about it is, again, I'm no wine tasting expert. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so I have some skill, but I'm nowhere an expert. And no one's ever trained me. But as you taste the wine throughout the process, it's quite interesting because you can actually taste how the wine changes. Today, incredibly sweet. If you taste it in the middle, it's gonna taste kind of weird, but not even that good because it's got a lot of CO2 in it. Then you taste it when you go to bottle it, and then you taste it after a couple of months, and you'll start to see how the wine changes. At the very least, it gives you an idea of what the wine is going through and how it changes in flavor. And it may actually help you to taste the wine at later points when you uncork it, and you can kind of see what's changed along the way, as I've stated. So I'm not gonna pour the rest of that in there because I put my lips on it. Don't want to contaminate the wine. Now, go back to the instructions. We did the oak chips. We stirred, we did the hydrometer. Now, sprinkle in the dry yeast at the top of the juice. All right, so here we have, you probably can't see from there, we have a little pack of yeast. Shake it all at the bottom. Tear it open. And I'm just gonna sprinkle that on top. Make sure we get it all out of there. Okay, excellent. Toss that. Now, place loose fitting lid or a primary lid with an airlock filled halfway with sulfite solution. So, move the spoon. This is our nice clean cap for our container here. And as you can see, there's a hole in the top I put with a grommet. So what we're gonna do is we are going to stick that on nice and tight. And let me come a little closer and show you this. So this right here is the airlock. As you can see, there's some liquid in there. Again, allowing CO2 to go up here, and it'll bubble out these chambers and out, getting the CO2 out of the wine so it doesn't burst, but not allowing air to go back in. Again, air is what kills wine. So we will put that on top loosely. And I'm gonna pause the video for a second. I'm gonna go put this in my homemade heating chamber to keep it at a perfect temperature. You don't need one, don't have to have one, but I'm an engineer, and me and my father built a nice little container to make sure the wine stays at that perfect temperature as the yeast works. So I'm gonna pause the video now and I will show you what I've done in a moment. So we got the wine situated. Let me show you what we ended up doing. So here I have built myself a wooden box of sorts, fully insulated with your little viewing window. And up top, being an electrical engineer, I actually added a thermal controller, which connects to a heating pad inside. Let me show you. So what we have here is we have the wine as we've just created with your airlock, as you can see. Forgive my cat, she wants to be part of the video too. And what we have is at the bottom, we have a 3M heating pad. That connects to the controller at the top. And inside you have a thermostat. So essentially what it's doing is it's reading the temperature in the box, making sure that the box is as set, about 75 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And it heats up that pad to make sure the box stays at that temperature, allowing the yeast to do its thing. Over the next day or two, or even week, what you're gonna do is you're gonna see the CO2 bubbling out of here. And let me tell you, about the second day this is in here, the whole house smells fantabulous. It smells like wine and juice. Oh, it's excellent. You'll love it. It's the best part of this whole thing. Now, what I wanna show you is sometimes when the container gets too full, various kits will sometimes fill it. You'll get a little wine explosion. As you can see here over the years, I've had some of my kits burst, you know, not horribly, but spitting wine all over the place, which needs to be cleaned. So inside, for the sake of showing you, it is fabric and I have felt inside to make it look nice, but on the door, this is your basic, hard insulated panel, again, to insulate the whole box. So we'll go ahead and shut that. And we have the temperature set and it's ready to go. That's gonna sit there for a little while. If you read your instructions, it'll tell you how long. What you wanna do is, it's going to actually tell you to keep testing it with your hydrometer. And so once it gets below a certain level, then you move on to the next step. So for the most part, from what I've learned, it's in there from 5 to 10 to 14 days, give or take, and then you move on to the next step based on the instructions. If we walk over here, this is, my favorite wine barrel, and this awkward looking thing here is actually a carboy covered in an old sweatshirt. The sweatshirt's meant to keep the light from the window out of the wine because just like air, light kills wine as well. But this is another kit I've made, again, with your airlock on top. If we lift this here, awkwardly here, one-handed, not much to see, big jug of wine. And that's gonna sit there probably for at least a month, if not longer, until it's finished. Once it's finished there, then we go to the bottling process. And we're gonna show you all of these steps with our wine that we just made. So stay tuned, and what will take me over a month will take you a short time to click on the next video to see the next step in the process. So thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, comments. I'll be happy to answer them, maybe help you through, give you some guidance. So take care, and thanks again for your time. Bye-bye.